Hello, my name is Myra. Welcome back to another video. So now that we are literally in the last week of March, I'm kind of thinking about, okay, what have I learned in these past 3 months of 2025? And what are some bookish goals that I want to set for myself for the next quarter, but also really for the rest of the year? So I'm gonna kind of talk about some of the things that I already kind of started implementing now that I definitely want to continue in this next 3 months. My very first goal for this next quarter, and really again for the rest of the year, is to continue reading diverse authors. I went to Steamy LitCon last year, and if you don't know what that is, it's this big book signing that takes place in Anaheim, California, or at least it has for like the last 3 years. It's taking place again this year at the end of the year in October. And when I was there last year, during the very first opening panel, Kennedy Ryan was up there along with a few other people in the book, industry and publishing and stuff like that. She was talking about the importance of reading diverse authors and making sure that you're really analyzing the books and the authors that you are reading to then make sure that you are reading a little bit of everything, if that makes sense. I feel like that whole weekend, I really thought and was reflecting a lot on the books that I was reading, and I was fairly new to the bookish space, and I did find that I noticed that most of my authors that I was reading, they were all women, and they all pretty much looked the same but didn't look anything at all like me. And I knew something had to change. I was exposed to so many other great authors, and yeah, I basically started making sure that I was analyzing the authors that I was reading and making sure that I was including authors that also looked like me. As an example, actually talking about Steamy Lit, it's Dominic Lim. I met him. He is such a sweetheart. He lives in Oakland with his husband, and he was so awesome and so nice. And this is the book that I got from him at the book signing. Actually, he did get a chance to sign my book on here. And so he is like an example too of like a type of author that I normally hadn't really read, because a lot of the authors that I was reading were women. So that's kind of what I mean by diverse reads, and I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but that is one of my missions into this next quarter and to continue for the rest of, really my reading journey, is to make sure that I am reading diverse authors as well. Now, my other goal that I also have is to continue tackling my physical TBR. I am guilty of having subscription boxes, which there's nothing wrong with it, but I did notice that I kept getting all these physical books, and also when I would go to the bookstore or just a store, and then I happen to pass by the book section and then I get a book, that my books were piling up, and a lot of the books on my bookshelf had not been read yet. And I know that a lot of people have that problem. It's kind of a running joke, but at the same time I was like, I also want to make sure that I'm holding myself accountable. So what I've been doing is that I have been trying to always have a physical book that I'm reading. I always have this routine where I'm always listening to a book, because usually that's what I listen to when I'm in the car by myself, driving, or if I'm cleaning up around the house, stuff like that. So just for example, I mean, right now I just started reading a novel love story yesterday. I had just finished the other physical book that I was reading. So yes, I'm still reading on Kindle. I'm still listening to audiobooks, but I also want to make sure that I'm reading a physical book. Just things that I'm like, it should be kind of self-explanatory, but like it should just be like a thing that we do automatically, but we don't really. So I want to make sure I'm not just buying books and leaving them there without reading them. I want to actually read them. The other thing that I also have to make sure I keep on track with is my reading journal. I bought this reading planner, or the similar one, last year from Little Inklings Design. If you don't know who she is, she's this Canadian artist who designs this whole planner, puts it all together, and I love it. I mean, there are so many really fun things that you can do on here. There's reading challenges, backlists. Now you can do a lot of different like really creative stuff to put, book covers, or draw a book cover, or whatever it is that you want to do. And it also is a planner. But here, for example, all of February, I did not touch it. And so I figure what I want to do starting in April especially, I feel like this one's more like month specific, is if I'm not going to really write anything down, like if I don't have that many things to really plan on here, maybe I can make this a little bit more creative with what I'm reading. Maybe I can write, what I read on the boxes or something like that. But I feel like it is really relaxing for me to update the journal. I just sometimes it'll be, you know, 4, 5, 6 days and I just totally forget to update my reading journal. So that's another thing that I'm guilty of. So if you also have not updated your reading journal, this is your friendly reminder to don't forget about it and update it. And last but not least, and probably the most important goal for me, is to continue mood reading and continue just having fun with the books that I'm reading. If I'm reading a book and I'm not feeling it, it's okay to put it down. There's a few books actually, now that I'm tackling my physical TBR, that I realized I had kind of soft DNF'd it because another book had caught my attention. There's nothing wrong with that, but I just figure, hey, if there's a book that I'm just really not feeling, it's okay to press pause and move on to something else. And now what I do, especially when it's like a physical read, is I look at my bookshelf. I'm like, what am I in the mood like of reading? Do I want sports? Do I want mafia? Do I want small town? And another thing too that's been helping me is that I make sure that I'm reading one type of audiobook, but then reading a different physical book, if that makes sense. So for example, right now that I'm reading A Novel Love Story, this one has a magical element to it. If you've watched the show Once Upon a Time, very similar vibes to this one. So I'm reading this, and then I just started listening to First Time Caller, which is a little bit more of a contemporary romance. So again, it's different. I don't know that I would want to read 2 fantasy books at the same time, because I feel like I'd be like, wait, was this in this world or in that world? I don't really think that that would work for me, for my brain. I don't know that it could handle that. But that's another thing. If you kind of are like, well, yeah, but also, you know, I don't want it to distract me from this, pick something that's totally opposite, and that might just help you out. But at the end of the day, go with your mood. I really haven't even thought about really doing TBRs. I think moving forward, what I'll do is maybe talk about new releases that are on my radar, or books that have recently been brought up to my attention that possibly maybe I will tackle. But I don't know about really setting hardcore TBRs for myself, because mood reading has really been the thing that has helped me this year. 2025 has kind of been a little rough. It hasn't been the nicest to me, and mood reading has really helped me a lot, especially when I was kind of hitting a little bit of a reading slump. So don't forget that ultimately at the very, very end of the day, it's not about reading journals. It's not about how many books you read. It's not about whether you listen to books or read physical or ebooks. It's all about enjoying what you read. So just please, please, please remember that, because I think I kind of started to forget that, and that sucks. It'll take something that brings you joy away, and it shouldn't be like that. So anyway, let me know if you're setting any goals for this year. Let me know if maybe you're inspired by one of my goals and you want to also apply that to your bookish goals for either the next quarter or the next year. But thanks so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.